really very good. I was actually going, I can't remember where we ended. Just couldn't remember. I was like, where did we end? Oh, I'll read Lily's notes. Ah, that's where we ended. Okay, I'm good now. I know where we ended. So that was lovely. Okay, so quick recap. You all went to Northlake Manor after having organised the right dresses and doing all the right things and meeting the right people, all of which you've now done. It was very lovely, and is that Mike dealing with his cat? And then you discovered
My apologies.
a corridor. That's okay. You discovered a corridor because Elizabeth Northlake, the heir to the Northlake fortune, and also oldest, 16-year-old daughter, was running around with some of her friends. They were measuring the corridor. They thought it was very interesting because the corridor was longer than it was just the day before. And the truly bizarre thing is it's not as long as the corridor right next to it, which happens to be going to exactly the same place. So there's a servants corridor and a not servants corridor. And the servants corridor is shorter if you measure it directly than the long corridor, which the nobles use. And yet they start at the same point and they end at the same point. You also discovered the family Bible, which had the family tree in it. And you can make of that what you will. But there was some information there that was of some interest to you. And who have we lost? We've lost Lily. Damn. Okay. All right.
No, we lost Mike.
I'm here.
Oh, we lost Mike. Oh, we lost Mike. Yep. Okay. Yep, there he is.
Error. My apologies.
He's back. That is all good.
Mon Dieu.
Okay. So, and at some point, I think based on Lily's notes, a number of you had gone to take airs, want of better language, out in the garden and were floating around the garden. A number of you had, well, actually, sorry, I should remember from the notes, but I've now forgotten. Who was actually the person who smuggled? It was Lily. It was Georgiana, sorry. Georgiana was the one who smuggled themselves into the library, wasn't it, Georgiana?
Yeah, and lost reputation.
Lost reputation.
In the process. I'm busy being horrified by my old friend behaving very strangely.
Yes, because old friends should not behave strangely. First rule of old friends.
Yeah.
Now, yes, so you've gone out into the world. This is true. Anytime a door is closed, they want in is a truth that I cannot deny. Cats. I don't let them in the office with me when I work anymore because my cat climbs my shoulder, literally in the middle of a call, and flashes its ass to everyone and anyone who's on the call. It's like, hi, it's me.
So my clients are quite familiar. They were quite familiar with my cat's anus. Yes.
Yes, I'm running a workshop for 65 people about Aboriginal self-determination. Nothing breaks the ice better than a cat's butt, it turns out. Okay, so that's where you stand. So a number of you have gone out. In all transparency, unless there's like a lot you particularly want to do tonight now, there's not an awful lot more you can do at this point. Mm-hmm. So you sort of know about the corridor. You've got the Bible, or at least you've got evidence in the Bible. So you can all see it. I'd be fascinated to know if... and there was that's right. And there was the inscription on the page about I will never do this horrible thing again.
Yes, spilling blood upon a black altar to stop the monsters.
Surely that's just someone's shopping list.
Yes. Surely.
So I assume that Georgiana has just been found in the library by Elizabeth, Eliza, and the rest of them. If we're going to sort of shorten this bit, I just assume they take her to the corridor. They try to measure. It's longer than the servants' corridor. Can't really make head nor tail of that. Is that something we wanted to go through, or did you want to skip to the next scene?
Well, I guess the question is, that kind of is, yes, so that you kind of can work out quite quickly. So the sort of $1 million question is there anything else you'd like to sort of explore at this point, or shall we roll on to the next day and sort of you guys getting together and sort of determining whether there's something you're going to do, want to do, might do, that kind of question?
I think the only thing that I would like to do is, if there's anybody to talk to who could maybe give me a bit more context around my friend and why she thinks that our husbands are still alive, even though they've been dead for years, and that we were just having tea in the garden last week. Like, is it she's just losing her mind because of old age? Or is she unwell, or what's going on?
No, you can make a roll, actually, and it can be. I feel like it's kind of, yeah, you're really bad at psychology, which seems unnecessarily complicated for this question. You know what? It's probably not a roll. No, look, you're like, she's showing the signs of aged, of unwellness, right? So she's losing her mind because she's old.
Okay, cool.
I think that for Eliza, and oh my goodness, I've just been watching Bridgerton, so I'm hot off the presses, ready for this.
You're ready. You're ready.
I think I'm totally ready. I think that for Eliza, she was kind of being led along by Elizabeth, who was kind of interested at, for someone who has maybe like mathematical or scientific knowledge, to assist them in measuring. I think that the second that kind of, we go inside and see, Georgiana kind of like poking around, I don't imagine that at this moment we, like go over the book or anything like that. Perhaps Georgiana keeps that from us, like until, an appropriate moment, because I guess at the end of the day, it's not her book. So if that's all true and people are happy with that, and then we can kind of role play further from that, I think that Eliza sees a perfect opportunity to slip away from Elizabeth now that she's grabbed Georgiana's hand, and is patrolling her back to the corridor. And I think Eliza is probably going to go back into the kind of polite ballroom, or wherever the kind of large amount of people is, and just survey to determine whether or not her mark is in the room this evening, because if not, it's a wash and she will leave. So is Robert Williams. Robert Williams.
Now, he was the recently arrived dude, or was he the banker?
In my notes. No, not the banker. The banker's George Potterton.
Not the banker.
Who was
correct.
Miss
Yep.
Marion Potterton's brother.
He
owns the
is
estate.
not here. He is not here.
Well, what was all this for? This is tiresome in the utmost.
This is the newly arrived heir who's come from the continent and whose family have a slightly disreputable reputation.
Yes. Yes. Apparently that they're collectors of
So
inappropriate books.
yes. Okay. Yep.
So if
Yes,
if
correct.
he's not here tonight, then I think that you know, if anyone were to look, you would find Eliza, you know, in a quiet corner, you know, quite sullenly sipping, you know, lemonade or some sort of refreshment, and fanning herself vigorously as she is just having a rage meltdown. And that's probably where we leave her.
As far as Reginald was going, he was just wanting to. He was obviously looking for any eligible bachelorettes or widows, but shy of his mission was to see if he could make some connections, perhaps, you know, meet an eligible woman and not get called into any duels or anything like that. So he's pretty passive about the whole thing. But he was also trying to keep a bit of an eye on the others, particularly the younger ladies in the party. I'm just going to turn my camera off and murder my cat. Excuse me 1 second.
Now, Georgiana. So, Georgiana, when they come and gather all this up, and they've also gathered up Eliza, do you kind of allow yourself to be dragged out to measure the corridor?
Yes. So I guess as soon as she heard the people outside the door, she sort of jumps away from the desk a bit and maybe looks a bit guilty. However, I imagine they might be a bit too preoccupied with their own business to notice.
Yep.
I assume they sort of just come in and basically grab her and drag her out. And she'll be just sort of, I don't know, maybe gabbling a bit. Yes, certainly I can help. What is it that you need me measuring? I suppose I could help with that sort of thing.
That would be, yeah, that kind of thing. Yep. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then when they get there, yeah, I guess she will help them as best she can to measure the hallway. And then it does seem to be, I assume it seems to be longer than the one right next door, despite the fact they seem to end. Well, Miss Northlake, perhaps it's just a optical illusion, a trick of perspective. There could be. Oh, just checking. At the end of this corridor, do they join at both ends, or is it just a one end that they sort of?
They don't join, but they run into the, like, so they start at the big hall, where the dancing is happening. They both run parallel to each other, and then at the far end, they both run into the same wall.
Okay, sure, but there's not like a door at the far end either.
No, there is. There's two doors, one for each corridor.
Okay, sure.
They're actually separated by a wall.
Okay, so it's not like you just go up the end and you can't see the other side. You can open that door and say, oh yeah, they should be ending at exactly the same place on this wall. There couldn't be like a false wall in one of them or something.
No, they both enter into, so they run parallel to the wall. They run into, what do they run into? This map is a bit weird. They run into the small parlor. So they both have entrances at the small parlor. The long corridor runs up. Yeah, if I can show you the map, actually. Give me 1 second. I'll see if I've got the map.
And I've got these pages up here, these handouts up on my screen. If I move them around, does that affect everyone else's vision of those as well? No?
I think everyone can see them. I haven't set them up so they only open for you, which I need to change. Oh, okay. Maybe I'm the only one who can see them other than you. Here's the map.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Excellent.
Oh, there we go.
So,
I see.
are those thin walls doors? Are the thin lines doors?
Looks like it.
Yes.
Okay.
You mean the thin slide? Yes, they're
Okay.
doors. Yes, they are.
Okay, I see.
They are.
So yeah, there's no chance of there being
Mhm.
like an extra wall or something, or an extra secret room. Or okay.
No.
Well,
You can check all
this
of that.
is
Could you do me a favor? Could you roll a percentile die for me, please?
I did just a moment ago. I got 34.
Oh, did you? I missed it. Okay, awesome.
It was
Thank
1
you.
minute exactly. Is that okay, or do you want me to roll another one?
Yeah, no. I missed it. So that's all perfect. All right. Thank you.
Well, this is most odd, but there's many new developments in architecture recently. Perhaps it's merely a trick of perspective or something. Like those newfangled fireplaces that reflect the heat. Our ancestors certainly never would have thought something like that was possible, but well, we live in the modern age, and all sorts of things are possible with modern engineering and architecture. I'm sure it's simply something like that. I can try look into this further if you're really interested in it, but I can't think of what could be happening here.
And Eliza, you're doing measuring with these people, correct? As well? That's what I recall.
I did that prior. I think
that's
I
perfect.
probably.
Can you make a percent?
Yeah, sure.
Could you just make a percentile roll for me, please?
Yeah. For when I was humouring them.
Did she come back, or are you still sitting in the ballroom with the lemonade and fan?
I mean, that was where I left her. But if we want to say that, this examination maybe takes a few minutes, and she kind of gets bored and kind of walks back towards them, very happy for her to kind of be in the general vicinity, just appraising in a way. Here we go. Oh, a 96. Is that a fumble? Whatever it is.
Not at this point, no.
Okay.
But it is funny. All right. Okay. So just in the process, so it kind of makes sense because you went and did some measuring, but mostly to humour and then you came back out and went off to see if your lad was turning up, and unfortunately, no lad. Georgiana, you're dragged along to replace Liza, who has lost interest, and to do measuring. And you note about half to 2/3 of the way down the long corridor, there is, what would you say? There's a sense of stretch in the wall. The wall feels weird. It feels stretched. And it's actually something you notice.
Does anyone else seem to notice it?
No.
Okay. Seeing as the others don't seem to notice it, Georgiana might just given that they've had some weird experiences recently and some of the other stuff that she might have picked up, she might not say anything for now. Just sort of file that away and wonder whether this might be another one of those strange occurrences.
Yeah. Hey guys, just give me 1 second. It's my kid. I will just mute.
Well, at the end of the day, I went insane last time. So if Georgiana ends up saying it's one of those things, I'll be like, whatever do you mean? You forget yourself.
Good. If we don't all go insane, I mean, what's the point?
Absolutely.
That's called Cthulhu.
It is.
I'm
I would
actually amazed that I made my roll last time because my sanity is very low.
Very
It won't happen again.
I was
just
just thinking. Oh, there you go.
Oh, it's the rules of society that are just keeping Viscountess Purbeck on the straight and narrow because actually she's pretty close to the edge all the time. So that's why she's just like so invested in reputation, etiquette, the rules of society, because that way she knows she'll be okay.
Yeah, and probably why she was so adamant that she find the reason why this person was like telling her those things, because she's like, am I being slighted? Am I on the out of something? Is this a practical joke at my expense? So I get that.
Just like, what's going on?
I was actually just thinking about the Regency idea, and I was like, wouldn't it be fun if you know, using this kind of like time period, there would like a chase scene, but the chase scene was just to like catch up to someone that you wanted to talk to, or that you wanted to be seen with, and it's in the middle of like the town, and all of the like obstacles and stuff are just like, oh, it's the greengrocer walking past with the you know, the oranges, you know.
And then the person that you really have to stop and say hello to, because if you cut them, like, you're in trouble.
That actually sounds really fun.
Instead of having the two workmen with the big sheet of glass, it's just like maybe a curtain or something like that with, you know, but it's there. You know, you make the tip of the hat. I thought you actually meant like in the ballroom when there's like 100 people all dancing and you're trying to chase someone through there, but you've got to get through, you know, past the old, no offense intended, the old, you know, what's the word? Old lady who's looking, you know what I mean? Who's looking for marriage, or the lecher who's trying to get hands on anyone. Either would work.
Yeah, I like both of those ideas. Yeah. Hello.
Reginald, you're a dodgy dude. I'm just saying that. You're exactly the sort of person that, you know, other people are warned away from.
Just saying what we're all thinking.
No, that's exactly right. All right, so we might draw that to a close then. So, if that's okay. So basically, you all hang out. Yes, the old lady's kind of going. Unfortunately, she's getting dementia. You've discovered that the corridor is longer than the corridor right next to it, and you can see what I mean by right next to it. And Georgiana, you have discovered its weird taffy-like texture, and you found the inscription. And you also found at the front of the family Bible, there's a whole bunch of dates of people who passed away at various points. Just on that, by the way, can I get a library research roll from you, Georgiana, in the great, possibly the greatest skill in Cthulhu? I think it's called library research, isn't it? Or something to that effect?
Library use.
Library use. I was so close, yet so far. Oh, yeah. Library use. Wow, you're good at it. Not that good. Wow.
No.
It's not a fumble, but it is a failure.
It's definitively a failure. Okay. Oh, all good. All right. So, the next day, what do you want to do, people? Because, like, it's the follow-on day. You guys can all, you know, kind of gather around at the Viscountess Purbeck's, you know, palatial estate. Rector Cedric Postlethwaite has, you know, is sponging off the cakes and scones. Reginald Duplessis is sponging off the cakes and scones. Tell the difference. That's all I'm saying.
Just sponging off the Viscountess. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's right. She's a ship of state, and she's got all these remoras, you know, kind of.
Yeah. Barnacles of my life.
Barnacles.
You know,
What about
You're
My
when
slowing
you
me
did
future
down.
my
dancing
last night?
master that I've hired for my young ladies, and
That's right.
my religious guidance. Well,
Yep.
definitely going to be debriefing with the young ladies. I'm like, because I got a bit distracted, and I want to know what they got up to, who they danced with, what happened. I'm going to be disappointed, aren't I?
You are. I fear, well, depending on their level of honesty with you.
Tell me, young ladies, how did you enjoy the ball? Who did you dance with? I'm afraid I was somewhat distracted last night by my own concerns. So tell me everything that happened.
Can I actually kind of like throw in something that I think may have happened if we stayed longer?
Sure, you can tell me
Keeper?
whatever you like.
Oh, cool. Well, like I don't necessarily mean this to be like a deception or anything like that role, but I feel like if we had stayed like for longer during the night, I think that Eliza probably would at some point have politely danced with George Potterton, because they are people that we know in the ton. And she does feel bad for the family, considering their was it their mother, their mother died
Yes. Yep.
only
Their mother
recently.
died.
So
Hmm.
I think that, like, perhaps George felt a little bit on the outer, and he was kind of just sitting there kind of drinking by himself. And so knowing him and knowing the family, she offered to dance. So I think that's the one and only person she felt worthy of her time to dance with. Does George Potterton, of course, is not Viscountess or Lady Purbeck. He's not entirely my cup of tea, and wasn't quite exciting. He took my hand after the dance and proceeded to try and talk to me about the stock exchange, which is not an area of interest or intrigue for me. So, and Mr. Williams was not in attendance, so I did not get the opportunity to be regaled with the stories of unscrupulous tomes and things of the like. Sorry to say.
Well, I'm very glad you danced with Mr. Potterton. It's a sad story for his family, but I do understand. Sometimes it is just polite. What about you,
Indeed.
Georgiana? Who did you dance with?
Oh, Viscountess, I'm very sorry. I did not join the dancing last night. I was too busy reacquainting myself with Elizabeth, Miss Northlake. She had some very interesting family stories and local stories to relate. After we've been away for some time, it was very good to find out what has been happening in the neighborhood.
Well, that is very kind of you to spend time with her, and I do think it is a good idea to deepen those bonds of friendship with such an important young lady in this area. So, did you have any news to share that you would like to pass on?
Well, I myself talked to the dear Miss Elizabeth, of course, and attempted, my lady, to enlist her to have me be formally introduced to Lord and Lady Northlake. However, she was much more interested in that corridor. She seemed to have had some, I'm sure, childish flight of fancy in relation to the length and breadth of such a corridor, and entrusted me to take her to my dear cousin, whom I saw in the library reading a book. Is that not what you have behind you there, cousin?
Well, I was in a library. There were many books behind me, I can only assume.
I should
think
not
you
be
have it with
surprised
you.
to hear that you were in the library, Miss Wentworth. And what's this about the corridor? What? It sounds very peculiar.
Oh, just a architectural anomaly in one of the corridors. It is obviously a feature of the house that Miss Northlake was very keen to show us. Yes, very interesting.
I have to say, I have not often heard a corridor as being very interesting and of such interest to young ladies. What do you make of this, Rector? Very. Oh, you're on mute, Rector.
There we go. So what do I make of the corridors?
And these young ladies being so interested in them. Have you ever known young ladies to be interested in architecture like that?
Well, obviously, no. It's not a normal thing for young ladies to be interested in. But who knows with today's generation? But they were certainly very engaged, as you were with these corridors. So something's obviously there. Don't know what.
Was I the only one who actually socialized and met some people? I was having to seemingly cover for all of your disappearances, and but fortunately, I managed to entertain people and, if not quite beguile, definitely entertain and make some headway to make excuses for where people were. How you say, measuring corridors. I am not. In the Netherlands, our party is a little bit more exciting than that. But, first time for everything. You're welcome.
Oh, yeah, thank you very kindly, Monsieur Duplessis. I know I did my share of socializing. However, I did get rather a shock from a conversation with a dear friend of mine. I think she's quite unwell these days. I do feel like we might need to go and pay another visit, though, to Lord and Lady, whose names I've forgotten, Northlake, the Northlake, to thank them for such a lovely ball. Perhaps
Indeed.
we did not have the best ball of all, but still, the niceties should be performed.
Oh, I was fine at the ball because I was noting down who was talking to who, and potential matchups and marriages that are on the line very soon. So all your conversations that you had with your girls and your so forth, I can validate who they talk to because I didn't go wandering around in the corridors.
No.
Indeed, yes. Rector, let me ask you this. I'm finding myself quite interested in the idea of, well, of course, it's been thrust upon me, the idea of marriage. What is your view on the idea of marriage? Do you believe it to be a religious institution in and of itself, or do you believe that marriage in and of itself is a divine gift?
Well, the sanctity of marriage is a blessing to all who engage in it. It is key to the well-being of polite society. I mean, without marriage, we wouldn't have the solid structure that we have today of relationships and well, need I say, the preservation of the beliefs of the individuals and the group.
Indeed. Where, however, does a love match factor into your biblical interpretation? Because, of course, God is love, but in love one might find marriage.
Have you found somebody, dear Eliza, that is bringing up all these questions of marriage? Which is delightful.
Well, thank you. You're quite kind, Rector. I only asked because, of course, that was your sermon this Sunday. on the sanctity of this season. So I was merely meaning to pick your brain on the matter as I, navigate God's waters of time.
Of course, that's not a problem. In fact, the next sermon I was considering giving on the sanctity of marriage and the blessings of those involved. So
Indeed.
it is certainly something that happens a lot after some of these balls.
Right. Well, I don't believe that many people are fortunate enough to have a love match and have that level of intervention from the Most Holy.
But
However,
if you respect the other person, the love will come.
Interesting.
If it's not there already. Sometimes you have to discover that person more to understand them better and to truly love them and to love God.
Indeed. Well, I do love the idea of Mr. Williams. I'm not sure that quite counts as the same thing. I guess I'll have to follow in the footsteps and go where God would will me. Quite.
Indeed.
Speaking
he
of,
has a plan for everyone.
Indeed, and I feel as if it's quite interesting seeing all of us move across our various circles as part of that destiny that is, of course, talked about in the good book. Isn't it a sad destiny that Marianne Potterton should be so interested in wedding off her sisters and yet not be seeking that most hallowed and divine institution herself? I mean, but if only there were eligible bachelors around the ton. How interesting.
Sorry, it seems that Reginald has got something stuck in his throat.
I do believe the French say it's a frog in your throat, but of course you are Belgian.
No, you're talking eligible bachelors of standing.
I'll leave that to you, Reverend.
I'm no matchmaker, really. I just perform the godly rites that are required.
Indeed.
Is there anything else concerning you, Eliza?
No, not at all. I feel I'm quite parched, and I excuse myself to get some water.
Right.
So now that that's happened, anyway.
Well, can I ask, like, considering Georgiana's the one with the book, and likely that information, I assume, is useful to all of us, and we'll need that, unless it is that that it's something that can kind of be played with only certain people knowing. I think that might help in terms of like if that would drive us forward, or whether.
Well, so the question is, like, if the corridor, you're aware that the corridor was weird.
But again, it was Georgiana that touched the tackiness of the corridor, so she knows
correct.
that as well.
Yes.
So as far as we're going, it was a pretty weird thing, that whole corridor debacle sort of conversation.
Yep.
But
like, what is that?
We don't know any other evidence or anything linked to the corridor except that the kids were playing in it and measuring it, and it was a little bit weird.
So my question. Oh, sorry. Go.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Well, so I guess the question is, you sort of all chat a bit about how weird it was. But you're going to go back to the North Lakes, was where I thought you were heading, even just to visit them.
Yes, we'll make a morning call on the North Lakes to thank them for holding the ball, and just to have more time to chat.
Right.
Also, just as an aside, sorry, I beg your pardon. So I've got
no.
George Patterson, who was the banker who bored Eliza. and Robbie Williams, we'll call him, was the one you're waiting for. So what's his connection? I've got a line connecting the two. Is he related to the Pottertons in some way? No, completely different.
No.
But is he a local denizen? Because maybe it might be worth having a. Well, I mean, I assume that Georgiana's going to sneak off and join his cult at some point anyway. So, is he another avenue you want to sort of look at under the guise of, your obvious affections?
Well, I absolutely do, because I feel like, that gives number one, fun. Number two, it gives our keeper the opportunity to throw something at us that may be Cthulhu-esque. So I don't know. But yeah, no, I think that Eliza would be very interested in that, but I don't know whether she knows where he is at. I don't think she knows where he's staying, or because he's not from here.
Oh, well,
like he's been away for a while.
Oh no, you know where their estate is. This is the world of we go to their estates and visit them. It's all a bit awkward though, because normally you need some, like, it's really fascinating to me that the whole Regency model was you kind of needed to be introduced to people to meet them. So you need someone who was already been introduced to introduce you. It creates significant complexity in being the first person to make a call, unless you're willing to risk social, disharmony and a modicum of risk in introducing yourself without an appropriate person, without an appropriate person.
Encountering him somewhere in public and
well, is it a stretch then to suggest? Would it be a stretch then to suggest that anyone that we want to talk to, and I'm not entirely sure what our reasons would be for that, apart not metagaming this too much, is it reasonable to then suggest that the Viscountess could either put out some invitations or maybe have a ball or a lunch or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I should definitely be having to host a large gathering and inviting everybody.
That is indeed
a
very good way to get people to come to you. Yes.
But yes, I think that our first set for the morning she'll be going to visit the North Lakes again.
Yeah, and then maybe at the North Lakes, if there's someone who we knows and can introduce us to Robert Williams, then perhaps that's a good opportunity if they're wishing to call.
Yes, and because I would be very interested to make his acquaintance to see if he could be a suitable suitor for either of you.
All right, so just to be clear, you're heading off to visit the North Lakes as a group, en masse, as it were.
Yeah.
All right, you jump into your hansom and cab. Sorry, Georgiana. Yep.
So just before we move on, so this would sort of be out of the question for Georgiana and Eliza, but potentially one of the men or Viscountess Purba could leave like a visiting card at their house, which is another way that you can get introduced to people. The most likely one of this, and actually the person who could probably just show up would be the rector, because he's the rector essentially. They are one person
social glue. Yeah,
who's required to know his parishioners and things like that.
Well, that is a very good idea. So we could definitely send the rector off to have tea and get to know this new member of the community.
And look, just further to that, to utilising the Viscountess, as an opportunity, would the Viscountess's staff, I assume she has some, have their own livery? And if so, would it be possible to get like a zhuzhed up version of that so that I could then become one of your in-house people? Because then it might, if we go back to I wouldn't really have a reason to speak to the uppers, but if we were to go back to the house, then maybe I could go in and speak to some of the servants or the other people as an option.
Absolutely. So that sounds very good. Yes. I will have, because I have now employed you to as a member of my household. So absolutely, I will be providing you with clothing, and yes.
I would say one word of warning with that. You might have to go full on disguise. So not going as Reginald Duplessis, going as someone else, because once you've become sort of, the servant, you probably won't be coming back upstairs, let's say.
Disguise is one of my skills, so that I can do.
The layers of Inception.
You could go as your own footman.
My own footman, yes. So I just turn the corner and pull off the moustache and turn my coat inside out, and then suddenly I'm my own footman. I like the idea of that. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay, so Reginald, can you make a disguise roll to see how well you pull this off? As it turns out, you are indeed good at disguise.
Yes, very good. That's a hard success, I think.
That is a hard success.
Is it? Hang on. Oh, yeah, it is a hard success. That's right. Yes, it is.
No, you were right. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Definitely a hard success. All right, so none of you recognize Reginald. You don't know where he's gone, but there's this very odd French-speaking servant that suddenly appeared in the room. Because, of course, you've got social blindness. The moment he looks like a servant, he's invisible in the same way that every other servant.
This person has no clue.
Yeah.
The fata plumes are bumming the beaches. Some of the beaches.
Yeah. That's it. So, yes, they when you change, you actually have to say to them, it's me, it's Reginald, or else they don't realize it's you. Yes, servants just move in and out of their space. They're always there, they're always doing stuff, and you'll note that in 2 sessions we've not mentioned a single servant doing anything in the adventure so far. However, did the food get to the people who were at the ball? Who knows? It's magic. Have you guys ever seen that video?
And the cake get to us this morning.
Have you guys ever seen the video about the magic self-cleaning coffee table? Because if you haven't, you really need to watch it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Every morning I wake up and the coffee table is clean, and it's a miracle. That one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
you're a brave man.
Hey, I'll have you know, I do a lot of cleaning in my house. I have 4 children. I have to clean. All right. So, So you head off to the North Lakes with your coachman.
Yes.
Attached. You arrive at North Lake Manor. It's beautiful. It's large. It's big. It stands tall upon the manor, upon the moors. There's the obligatory knocking at the door, the handing of introductory cards, this sort of thing. Yes, there's of course, and would you like to see the North Lakes? They sort of introduce you in, perhaps taking tea and scones. I don't know if they had tea and scones, but I'm going to go with it. Tea and scones. In the small parlor this time, obviously, and you are introduced there, and there is Lady Northlake, Lord Northlake, Elizabeth Northlake, and of course the 2 much older women, one of who is the mother of Lord Northlake, and the other who is the mother of Lady Northlake. They're very happy to see you, obviously, as you come in. They greet you effusively, because you're pretty much the only people in the community who are of the same social status. Because most of the other Ton members are gentlemen or gentlewomen. You're a genuine noble, as is Lord Norfolk. So there are no hierarchies within the Ton, except for the hierarchies that exist within the Ton.
Yeah.
Right. Greetings. Elizabeth smiles at all of you, not at you, Reginald, because you're now a coachman and you have no say in this. Now, have you skived off down into the servants' entrancey bit to say hello to the servants?
Yeah, initially I would make sure that the carriage, everything is all sorted and it's looked after, and then, then perhaps inquire as to where an hard-working Englishman might procure a cup of tea, please.
You play. Oops, sorry.
Hilarious. Okay, so you do that, and they show you around through the servants' entrance. You're taken into the kitchen, which is, very, sort of very nice and lovely and all of those sorts of things. They're drinking, tea themselves down below. They kind of greet you, I guess. Once noting how well you did your disguise skill, have you lost your French accent for the purposes of this conversation, or are you still a Frenchman?
No, I'm trying very hard to have lost that accent.
Okay, well, you're doing a magnificent job. So you sound quite the, quite the local, possibly from London.
In it,
mate. And they chatter away. There's much chatter down below on the ball last night, on the strange behaviour of many of the younger ladies disappearing off away from the ball, running around, measuring as the nobles. They're possibly more aware of it because they're kind of ignored, so people aren't sneaking past them. So Georgiana's sneaking off to the library did not involve sneaking past the servants, because the assumption is they just don't matter. Make a... I think it's going to be a charm roll. Maybe it's fast talk. Actually fast talk.
Are
You're
you
gonna
sure
have
I
charm,
can't? Are you sure I can't talk you into charm?
No, you can use charm. I'm okay with that.
Nope.
Ooh.
Nope.
I'm
Would
going to
you
push
like-
the roll. My method
you
of
like
pushing the roll, if you would allow
to
this,
push
would
that
be,
roll. Yes, go.
Well, what I would probably do, if I'm in the kitchen and it's mainly the ladies in there, I would. Well, it depends. My plan is that if it's ladies,
there's men down here as well.
Okay, well then maybe I would. How would I push it? I'd be talking about. Maybe I'd suggest maybe a quick game of cards, and while I'm doing that, maybe doing a few little steps with the ladies in the kitchen. While they're busy, obviously I'm busy as well, but while they're up there, our betters, let's just have a little bit of fun, eh? Who wants to? They're up there, they can't even see us. Let's just have a dance and maybe a drink, and who wants to play some cards? So that's how I'm going to try and push that roll, if that works for you.
Sure. What is the consequence, do you think, of failing this roll?
I would say at least they would shut down. They wouldn't tell me anything. At worst, one of them would maybe go upstairs and whisper into the lady of the house's ears that one of the servants is drinking or carousing down in the kitchens. Something like that.
Sounds good. Yep, sounds good.
Herbeck's reputation. Yep. My God.
Yes. All right, feet don't fail me now.
Go.
Oh, mother flipper.
No.
Okay, well, yes. Okay, it's not a fumble, but
so you are like trying to convince people to just join in, and they're all very proper. We're a social class above your standard servant, because we're servants of a lord, not just the servants of a gentleman. and you kind of breach the social protocol of the group, and in effect, you're exiled from the conversation.
Yeah. Well, if I spot that, I
You
would
know
probably.
who this reflects badly on?
Yeah, I kind of do, but I think upon that, once I see them tightening up, I would probably remove myself from the situation and go back outside with the ostlers or something. But if I could, I'd maybe have a wander through this corridor I keep hearing about on the way out, the servants' corridor, and just have a wander and see if there's anything that I can see that's going on there. But yeah, I'd make my way outside.
So it's not the servants' corridor; it's the
other one, isn't it?
It's the long corridor, which is the one the servants don't use.
Right. Okay.
But you can do it. Like, they move through it. Sorry, they move through it, but it's like, with intent.
Right. Well, I would do that. I don't really have an idea of how servants behave, so I'd probably fuck it up. But if I do and I get caught, I'll be like, "Oh, sorry, love. I'm just trying to find the back door. I thought this corridor led out there. I was just got turned around in the parlor out there."
Could you make a percentile dice roll for me, please?
Just yeah. Now, how do I adjust? Sorry.
So at the bottom of the chat.
Oh, yes. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Yep. So D100.
Yep.
And no, did that not work? D100. No, yep. Sorry, I beg your pardon. Jesus. Oh. Why couldn't I roll that a second ago?
Okay. Well. Okay. Reginald Duplessis. Cool. Yep, that's what I thought. Right. So you're moving through the long corridor. You glance. You're looking. You said you were looking at it. Trying to understand what's going on. I like the optimism of your messaging, Eliza. You see a very strange effect. Looking at the wall, it looks like you're looking through the slats of a window. You're used to the slats because they're used as shutters on windows. So you've seen them before, or actually sometimes without windows, they're just used to sort of, close in. And so you can imagine open shutters on a wooden slatted sort of thing. And so you can see sort of this kind of spaced out view. So there's wall, there's what looks like actually open space. Then there's a wall, then there's a bit of wall, then it looks like a bit more open space, like it's going down the wall that way, right? So bits of wall followed by bits of open space. The open space bit is not great. You can see what looks like dark clouds, dark scene. You can see glinting of light. You can see black basalt through the wall, and you can see these things in the distance lying on the ground, reflecting light. Could you make a spot hidden roll for me as well? Wow, you're on fire. Okay, I mean, I think the whole group would agree that Reginald is monetarily motivated.
You wound me,
Reginald's the sort of guy who's, So, Reginald, you're looking through the slats. You're looking at those glinting things on the ground because, glinting things on ground sounds promising. And what you can see, or what you realize, is there seems to just be gemstones as far as the eye can see on this black basalt ground that you're seeing through these slats. Just some of them are big, some of them are little, but they're all gems.
The Countess would be so proud of this discovery, and if I need some proof, and maybe it would wash away any of these false accusations for the stupid servants in the kitchen. I might reach through and see if I can't reach one of them.
So good. All right, you put your arm through the space, and first of all, that works. So you put your arm through, and you can put your arm through the wall. Could you make a sanity check for me now, please?
Okay.
It's a simple one. It's not a big one. It's not a big one.
What could possibly go wrong?
Everything. Oh, you mean luck? You could use it like you're 1 point off.
Yes. I feel like Reginald, I might burn the luck because I feel like Reginald is just thinking there's so much to gain here. If I can get
hold
this,
on.
it's
Can you
proof.
spend luck on a sanity roll? I don't think you can.
No.
I don't think you can.
No problem. Then I'll take the loss. What do you got?
Oh yes, that's on me. Good point. 3 points.
Oh, that doesn't help. Good. Now, hang on. So do I just edit it there from 64 down to 61?
You do.
Okay.
How quick is that? So you put your arm through the thing and your brain starts to spasm. I mean, you're literally reaching through the wall into somewhere else, and you're touching the ground, like you're touching actual ground. And your brain, which, it's been to places it doesn't want to go before, it's not a big fan, lets out a little bit of a cry and a whimper. Now, the important reason for this message is everyone else is literally just down the corridor in the small parlor, which is the room at the end of the long corridor.
Oh, shit.
So you're all sitting there.
One of the things I wanted to say to Lady Purbeck was, where's your footman going? Because he has no reason to be in that corridor.
Well, you get to say that now because you hear a sort of sound.
I do believe you're
on the corridor. and there's Reginald. He's got his arm. You can't see his arm properly. He's leaning against it. Now, Reginald, one last question. If you could just make for me a luck roll, actually, if you could just make me a luck roll.
One last question. Doesn't sound ominous at all. So yes, I'd love to do that.
Just a luck roll.
Oh man, I've got great luck as well. Well, I did have until then. So no.
Okay. So you put your arm through. Confused. Attracted by the baubles. You reach out to the ground because you were trying to grab one, right? Like you were trying to grab something. You can't reach any gems. So you're just touching ground. Then you can't see, but you feel this kind of wet tongue lick up your hand. And at that point, you let out your scream. The rest of you look up and you can see the you can see one of the servants, I should make the point, one of the servants is in the corridor and they're leaning against the wall very hard because you can barely see their arm. And they're like, ah!
A part of my brain, Reginald's brain, is like, they always come back when someone licks my hand. But yes, he will pull it out pretty quickly. and start checking, like are there any wounds or marks or damage on him, and then maybe if he notices people looking, he'll nothing to see here, and then just continue on his way out of the corridor.
Right. Well, there's a lot of people looking at you. Actually, there's a whole bunch of people at the end of the corridor looking at you.
Well, if they,
the dodgiest man in the house.
Yeah. Well,
Hey,
in that case,
by the
if they
way-
are looking at me, then maybe I would say, "Quick, come and try and show them what I can see."
Can you permanently lower your total sanity? You know how it goes up to 99?
Yes.
Yep. And you know how that's 99 minus your current Cthulhu mythos is your maximum sanity?
Yep.
Could you just give yourself another 2 points of Cthulhu mythos?
Right.
And reduce that maximum sanity down by another 2 points from what should be 97, I assume, down to 94, and give yourself that extra 2 points, because the 0-1 you rolled was against your Cthulhu mythos skill. So congratulations, well done.
Wow.
You know, you only had a 2% chance of pulling it off, which is why I was quite impressed that you rolled the 0-1.
Okay, so let me just unlock that. Okay. Why is that? Hang on, did I just
That's so lucky. Oh my god.
Lucky, yes. Hang on, why?
Might have to start calling you Reginald Dufelix.
Reginald got caught with his hands in the cookie jar. Yeah, 90. Okay, so he edits it at Cthulhu Mythos, and it does it automatically at sanity. Great.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool. Yay, you've doubled your Cthulhu mythos skill.
Yay. Yes. I mean, if someone was willing, I would love someone to come and have a look at it to see whether they can see what I can see.
I'm going to go over where the servant is.
Sorry?
Right.
I'll be going over
to
where the servant is.
Oh,
Yep.
there is a servant there?
Yeah, you're
No,
disguised.
you were the servant.
You.
I'm definitely going to send the rector to go and see what is wrong with that man. It's because I know he's one of my servants because he's dressed in my clothes.
Yeah.
Check on that man. I think there's something wrong with him. Is he unwell?
Lady Perfect, I think you need to review your hiring practices.
I think I might. Please, can you go and deal with him?
However, I would of course say, Lady Purbeck is quite a charitable sort, Lord and Lady Northlake, as you of course know. She of course, gives quite often second chances to individuals, who have a strong record but are in need of hire. So perhaps one of those previous ne'er-do-wells has perhaps had an episode of their own.
So, Elijah, are you saying that he's reverted to his old ways of
Potentially
being liberal with other people's possessions?
Do not think that. The poor man looked quite. Did you hear that sound he made?
Yes.
I think we should go and check on him.
He may require pastoral care.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, I will go up to him and try and ease this strange man. Ask him.
You might need to buy me a drink first, Rector.
Hey, guess what I want you to do,
Do I know
Rector?
you?
Oh, it's so hard to use your sheet. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Would you mind, if that's okay, rolling your Cthulhu Mythos skill, please, now that I don't have to hide what you're rolling?
Who, me?
Yes.
you.
Okay. Bink. Roll.
No. Okay. Good.
No.
Enough.
But I do have another skill, which is occult, which might come in handy.
It might. This is that will be more head knowledge than what I was checking.
Okay. All right. That's cool.
Yep. All right. Well, you're checking on the servant. Let me not get in your way.
Yes. He looked like he was doing something with his hand. Is his hand and arm intact and things? And
yes, as far as you can tell. Yeah.
What are you doing, my good man?
I would whisper quite urgently into the rector's ear and say, Rector, Father, I saw that we have seen things, you and I. Yes, we have seen things. And I saw as
I recognize his voice. Is he changing his voice back to his normal voice?
I am actually changing my voice.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yes. But
Good
very
Lord,
very low, just for him,
recognize
his ears only.
Is that a dog's nose?
Yeah. I'll punch you again if you call me Big Nose. I'd say, Rector, we have seen things, yes, things that people would not readily understand. When I walked past here, I was having a look for the ladies spoke of some strangeness in this corridor. I thought I would have a look after making some excellent friends in the kitchen, and there were gaps. I could see through the wall into some other space, not a space that was here, and there were things moving about in there. I know I have been a slight embarrassment to the Viscountess, and I will apologize, but you must believe me. I saw something, and I was trying to get something from that side for some proof. I'm not crazy, not yet.
So, first question I have is: have you been drinking, Reginald?
No. I have not. I have had but a cup of tea with the servants in the other room.
So I'll have a look where he's gesturing. I've got my back to people. What can I see there, detect there?
Make a spot hidden roll for me, please.
Yep. What rectors do?
There is something odd about the wall. It looks stretched.
Okay. Right. Stretched.
Yeah.
From what Reginald said, he could look into it and things.
Correct. That is what he said.
Right. Okay. So I'll just run my hand along the wall to...
Feels kind of weird, like kind of taffy-ish or weird. Yeah. That stretched feeling. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can we push? Trying to keep things a little bit obscure.
Oh, you're pushing to the wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Thomas, if where I got licked, would there still be any like saliva or lick or something on my hand that I could at least show him? Is that something that's disgusting and?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Lick my hand, smell my hand.
What is that?
Pull my finger.
No, I can't. I can't get grip on your finger to pull it.
It's glistening with saliva. Rector, he's literally got a hand and it's glistening with saliva, and he's going, no, touch it.
I don't think so.
All right.
Right.
But you did say you were pushing on the wall.
Yeah.
Make another Cthulhu Mythos roll for me, please.
Oh God. What's the chances?
Low.
It's low. All right. Well, I don't know what's going on here thoroughly, but there's something weird with this wall. It feels spongy. It feels like there's a film there that you just kind of push against. And I don't want to know what's on the other side because it's covering his hand. I think, Reginald, it would probably be best that you possibly go and look to the horses and the carriage.
And I'd nod and loudly say, I'm sorry. Yeah, mate. No problem. I'm just heading out to look after the horses, ain't I? Thanks for your help, Governor.
Perfectly all right.
And then toddles off really quickly.
Many were in the war. Some didn't come back complete.
Okay, so this all
And
goes down.
I
Sorry.
straightened up whatever pictures on the wall as well, and then come back.
Yep. Okay. Perfect. So you come back. Reginald disappears off. The wall is weird. Reginald, you're not
Weirder.
good with the saliva. It's kind of weird. It's kind of gross. The rest of you, you're distracted for a little while by this event, but look, in the way that you would expect, you all quickly move on from the weirdness of servants because, servants.
Yeah.
They're weird.
Exactly.
This
Fresh
is
tea.
why you don't spend a lot of time thinking or talking about servants. It's best. You're talking to the Northlakes. They are there. They're lovely. They're very interested. But it's all very light chit chat.
Yeah.
Is there anything specifically you're trying to talk to them about? Like they're chatting away. They're having breakfast with you. Well, brunch with you. You can't stay the whole day. It's a kind of you drop in,
Yeah,
you have
you're
brunch,
dropping
you
in.
chat.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm going to try and spark up, like as an older person often does, an awkward conversation with Miss Elizabeth. I understand that you have quite an interest in architecture, Miss Elizabeth.
Well, yes. I mean, no. I mean, I think it's just very fascinating. And her parents are like horrified. You can see the looks on their faces when she says those words. I think it's just very fascinating. It's like, oh my God, we're never going to be able to marry our daughter off. Give up now. It's true. I can imagine. Yes, I think that's likely to be true. Eliza, are you just in the middle of this segueing straight to a pretty hard, chop in with Mr. Williams is in town?
Look, honestly, I think that because she had not actually been formally introduced, even though she knew of the North Lake. So I imagine we've kind of gone through that. And perhaps if you'd like, I can roll either a reputation or etiquette roll to determine how well Eliza is going. And that might determine, whether she feels she can ask a question.
Look, I think she asks the question. The tricky bit about the use of etiquette is how well does she ask the question?
How does it land?
Right. So I might then say yes. Well, in terms of literature, of course, I sadly follow your daughter's passion myself, as of course does my cousin. We were quite interested to hear that Mr. Sorry, I forgot his name again.
Mr. Williams.
Mr. Williams. Mr. Robert Williams has graced the ton with his presence this year, although sadly he did not attend your wonderful ball. I was wondering whether you. I mean, what am I really asking? I guess I don't even know what I would ask them about. What was I going to?
Well, the question is, I mean, are you trying to find out more about Mr. Williams? I mean, these are connected.
Yeah,
people.
no. Yeah, absolutely. So I think sorry, I lost it halfway through. I think I say, do you know much about what he was undertaking abroad, or what has brought him back to our fair ton?
Well, I mean, his uncle, a man of limited social reputation. This is a guy who had basically just been had just not cared about his reputation. So the whole not coming to the ball because you're not the right person didn't seem to matter to him. He just didn't come. But we do have hopes that with the new, I understand it's Mr. Williams and his sister have arrived, and we have a hope that they will, reach out. Perhaps, someone should reach out to them. I don't know, but with their uncle in mind, a terrible man. It's difficult, but we have hopes that they will, enter the set and really participate, because I think, we can all agree that more people of our culture our standing. She would use the word outstanding. More people of our standing can only enrich the local community.
Oh,
Indeed. Oh, yeah.
quite agree, Lady Northlake. I was wondering about asking our dear rector to go and visit.
Oh my God,
Is-
that is such
Well,
a good idea.
I was going to say 2 new faces to the parish will be well.
Absolutely, and what could be less offensive than the dear rector, who's the most inoffensive man. Meanwhile,
You're too kind, my lady.
get out of here! Hey, Reginald, get out of here! What's going on in the
And he
corridor?
sips his tea quietly.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
And crumbles a biscuit.
Yes, indeed. My apologies for not being as perhaps well versed in an understanding of Mr. Williams or his I'm sure fair sister. What was it about their uncle that was so egregious? You just referred to him as a terrible man?
Oh, I mean, the stories. And they all look at each other and raise their eyebrows, which is the whole story as far as you're aware. The stories, and they. Make a I don't know. Is it etiquette? I guess it's etiquette to be in the loop.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Bum, bum. Yay! Success.
Well, yay! Winning. So quite literally, there were a lot of rumors that he might have collected unchristian books. The sorts of books that perhaps a member of the set might not approve of, and that might there's even rumors that he might have had some past involvement with, the more dubious members of the gentry. Particularly in London, there were stories going around that he had run with a particular set in London. And that was more than enough social obrium, is that the right word? I think it is. To keep him out of the mix. And basically, he didn't come to things, and people didn't want him to come. But they're very hopeful that the new Mr. Williams, who's been to the continent while all this was going on.
I think I kind of just like share the look with them, but don't really kind of dwell on those matters. However, I think that that I also say perhaps it might be useful, Viscountess, or indeed my dear cousin, and I to leave a card with Mr. Williams' sister. Perhaps she is in need of good company and walks around the town at this time of year. I do not know much of her.
Well, yeah, of course, that seems very reasonable. Yes. Well, look, I think we're all agreed. I think what would be best is if the rector went out to visit the Williams, perhaps by himself. Perhaps one, with someone else could come.
I think the rector by himself initially, and then if that goes well, we could invite Mr. Williams and his sister for tea. That would be very nice.
It would, they all say, and they all nod very sagely. There's a bit of concern. There's a bit of concern that the nephew might not be too far from the uncle, but we're of course not judging.
No,
I think it's very important to say very open-minded about the Williams. There's no judgment here.
We're going to use our rector is for outreach.
Right. Our outreach rector, just roll him out on a pole.
Indeed.
Hey, rector, can you go and visit the weird people who collect weird books while we're dealing with a weird thing? We thought that'd be good. And could you do that by yourself? Oh, all good. 2 thumbs up. Yay.
Yeah, great.
Whatever happened to the rector? I don't know. It's been some time since we visited the Williams. No one's seen the rector in some time.
The last time you saw the rector stride off somewhere to engage people, he got burnt on the pyre. So, absolutely. I mean, I'm sure they're charming people, and we should welcome them to the community.
Look, you've been, once you've died once, Reginald. Sorry, Cedric. Once you've died once, Cedric, you've got it.
Indeed.
You're all over this shit. Georgiana, what are you doing?
I think that Georgiana is probably just listening to all of this quietly, trying to take it in and draw as little attention to herself as possible. She was probably quite interested in what was happening in the corridor with the rector and Reginald, but at the same time, she didn't really have the courage to stay around and, as before, draw attention to herself. So she would have reluctantly gone back in with them and then just listened to all the gossip. I imagine, as with Eliza, the talk of unchristian books might have sparked her interest a little and made her go from zero interest in these new people to maybe they've got an interesting library. So she might be listening a bit closer after that. But honestly, she's probably just sitting as demurely as possible, sipping tea in the most proper way possible and just listening to what people are saying.
Well, after a little while, Elizabeth, who's decided that you're, very helpful. So they're all still talking about all of this. Elizabeth is completely uninterested. She would absolutely, kind of grab you, and kind of say, "Oh, you must come with," and sort of get up from the table and head off. Her parents look a little horrified, but the simple reality is they're the wealthy, rich, top of the pile people, and there's a little bit of, you can get away with it if you're that person. So she grabs you by the hands and grabs you by the hand and sort of wants to take you, to look at the corridor again. Did you see that servant? It was quite fascinating.
Really,
I think we should go and look again.
Oh, so certainly, Miss Northlake. I right away. And I guess Georgiana will let herself get dragged out while not really knowing what's happening.
Well, you get taken to the corridor. Can you make a Cthulhu Mythos roll for me, please?
Alrighty.
No.
That's a fumble. No, it's just a failure. Sorry.
It's just a failure. Yep. Okay. Well, you're taken down the corridor, and she's now got the ribbon again, and she's measuring it. So she's getting you to hold one end of the ribbon. She's holding the other end, and she's measuring it to the end. And she goes, "I swear the corridor's even longer than it was yesterday."
Even longer than yesterday? Surely not.
Yeah, no. I'm sure it is. And she looks at it and goes, you'll think it looks like it's maybe now quite a bit longer, actually. Hold on, I'll just get you the exact length. There's a measuring.
If we come back, we should subtly bring something better for measuring than a ribbon.
Yes, you are struggling with the ribbon. Let me just see.
Next time.
It's 3 foot longer than it was the day before.
What?
Could you make a sanity roll for me, please?
Okay. Oh, there we go. That is a success.
Hey, dude, you just, yep. Corridors grow 3 feet longer. That's what they do in Northlake. It's all good. No, you don't think that, but you're not horrified. Yeah, no, the corridor is 3 foot longer than it was yesterday, and it's pretty empirically 3 feet longer.
Well, that is quite curious. Perhaps it is something with the clay under the house settling, or some such thing. Miss Northlake, are there any stories of this happening before? Has anyone ever mentioned anything with this corridor?
She looks at you confused for a second. Let me guess, this is what you're not great at. Can you make a psychology roll for me, please?
You are correct that I am not great at that.
Ooh.
It is
No.
a regular
All the way around.
failure.
No, I don't. I've not. No, I've never heard of this before. It is very strange. I think you would agree.
Oh yes, quite odd. Perhaps if you looked up any old plans of the house, or if you looked up any material from when the house was being built in the library, perhaps your father might know more. Then perhaps there could be some explanation for this. Maybe it is just a natural feature of the land, or some such thing. Really, it is very curious. I can't think what this could be.
Yes, I don't know either, but I am certain that this corridor is longer than the other one, and that is bizarre. But perhaps you're right. Perhaps it's just the way clay is settling, and she says it out loud, and you can, just like, and perhaps, people roost in the trees tonight. Is the attached suggestion. Now, yes. So, yep. So, all right. So she kind of takes you on board. She thinks, well, perhaps there'll be books in the library that could explain this, she suggests.
Well, certainly. Perhaps you could show me if there's any books in particular that might relate to the history of the house, or any plans of the house, anything like that.
That's an excellent idea. Why don't we? And she basically drags you off to the library. She's keen to research. Yes, Eliza.
I think that that after a period, I think that Eliza asks to be excused to go and see what is keeping her cousin and Elizabeth, and bows to Lord and Lady Northlake. And I think that it's at that moment when Georgiana and Elizabeth are entering into the library, and Eliza just assumes that's where she'll find them. And so, Georgiana, did you take that? Are you using this as potentially an opportunity to put back the book that you might have taken, or did you leave it there and maybe there's an opportunity to look at that?
Georgiana never actually took the book. It was just open on the desk.
Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I threw something up earlier, but maybe it kind of just got lost in how I said it. So if the book is there, is there an opportunity for me to either do a library use roll, or you can just look at the book?
You don't need a library use roll to look at the book because it's been sort of discovered already.
Okay, great. So I think that I kind of walk in and kind of sigh audibly at Elizabeth and Georgiana, kind of like, particularly Elizabeth, running around, excitedly around the library, kind of pushing down kind of books and things. It's kind of, I imagine she's kind of like one of those rich kids that's kind of like, oh well, I think I'm going to grab this and that, and just kind of like throw things that are like leather bound and are really like quite precious, just chucking on the table. And I think that, that's the kind of scene that like Eliza walks into and asks, cousin, what is it that you and Miss Elizabeth are researching?
Oh, well, and she'll probably just take Eliza aside a bit and sort of whisper to her, the corridor. I think that perhaps you might have seen it last night, but I swear it's getting longer. I'm afraid that it might be something like what we encountered before. I'm trying not to say anything of the sort to Miss Northlake. She would simply think us mad. But I swear, cousin, when I touched the wall, there was something there, and you saw the reaction before of that coachman in the hall. And now the corridor is longer than it was last night. I don't know how this can be possible. I asked Miss Northlake if perhaps there was anything in the library that might help us, and so now she's looking for houseplants or something of the sort. What do you think of all of this? I swear I'm not going crazy. Miss Northlake has seen this as well.
And I think because we're kind of a little bit away from Elizabeth, and she's maybe up on one of those like awesome like ladders, in the library. I think that that Eliza kind of grabs your arm quite forcefully, and pulls you in and says, cousin, get a hold of yourself. We are in the home of the most important people in our world right now. We're talking about fanciful things. I don't quite understand what's gotten into you. I really don't. Nothing happened. It was a dream. A simple dream. You understand? You do understand, don't you, cousin?
I think Georgiana will look as if she's initially going to argue, but then she'll just look down and say, "Oh, yes, of course, cousin. I don't know what could have come over me. We are simply looking for house plans to see. Well, I'm sure there's just an architectural anomaly, and it's. Well, these days we need to have knowledge of all sorts of things to show how knowledgeable we are to the better educated in society."
Indeed. Well, apologies for that. Well, that I can help you with, my dear cousin. Let's start here, and I kind of walk over to this massive pile of books that have been piled up by Elizabeth, but one that's open on the table, because of course I cannot help myself as a player but read everything I'm given. So, like, open up that book, and perhaps Georgiana shows me the inscription or the writing in relation to Thomas Northlake. And I think that a chill kind of runs down my spine. And I think Georgiana probably just sees my eyes bulge for a moment until I just momentarily just like shudder and repress reading what I've read and just flick the page to the next page. If that works, or or if you need me to roll anything, Keeper.
Now, unfortunately, I completely lost connectivity through the middle of that, so I don't actually know what you're asking.
Oh, I'm asking, if I read the stuff about Thomas Northlake, do I need to do a SAN roll or something?
I swear I will never do this again, blah, 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 Thomas Northlake. Front of Bible, Thomas Northlake. Okay, no, it's not a SAN roll, but it is a library use roll. It is a library use roll.
Great. So I will roll that now. Here we go. Library use. I do love a library
use.
Oh, wonderful. Regular success.
Okay. And unfortunately I have to change the dates because I set the adventure slightly later than the book does, which is just the way it worked out. the thing that you realise, looking particularly through the 2 pages, which has got the births and the deaths. Let me just get you the things.
Is it that the
so
firstborn
pretend
child?
that it actually says.
Sorry, there you go. Firstborn child is like has a short
No.
lifespan.
Keep on going. Yep, keep on going.
Yeah. Firstborn child. Because we have
almost.
That's all I gleaned. I just saw a lot of firstborn children dying within at least like under 18.
So what you notice is, and I have to change the dates, like I said, just because I said it slightly later, but a person dies September 1415. Another person dies September 1515. A third person dies September 1615. The last person to die, William Northlake, was in 1715.
I see. Cousin,
and it is, of course, 1815 right now.
Okay. Cousin, did you look at this when you first read through? It seems as if every 100 years one of the Northlakes dies. And I kind of like my eyes just drift up to Elizabeth on that dang
And it is the
bookcase.
eldest child. It is the eldest child.
Ooh.
Now, not only is Elizabeth the eldest child, she's the only child.
Well, I mean, everyone dies. Honestly, with a family of this size, it would be odd if there wasn't a year when someone died. And September can be a tricky month. There's the rains come, and all sorts of accidents could happen. It could just be a coincidence. After all, just like you were saying, cousin, there's certainly nothing. Well, it wouldn't be right to assume anything else.
Indeed, yes. Yes. There's nothing odd about. I mean, you're talking all the time about the wonders of mathematics and how everything. What was that thing you were saying? Fantanel? No. Fibonacci. The Fibonacci spiral. Yes, some of these things just happen pure happenstance. Yes, but interesting. What did you make of what was written at the start of the book?
Oh, well, I thought that you said that we should not dwell on these matters, cousin, but and I guess at this point she's kind of torn because she definitely thinks it is related to what we experienced before, but at the same time, Eliza has made it pretty clear she doesn't want to talk about that, and she thinks it's all a dream, and that did not happen. Well, it is a very interesting inscription, I suppose, that back in those days, they had a much more fire and brimstone approach to religion. Obviously, we are much more rational these days.
Indeed. I mean,
cross over to the rector over tea, and that's why we have fire and brimstone. Yeah.
Indeed, I think that it's interesting wording. These metaphors, of course. Black altar, spilled my blood, stop the monsters. That such a turn of phrase. I mean, I was of course, only just yesterday reading an account of the witches of Huntington in their examination and confessions prior to their death, and one of the witches that were examined at that time by the church said that she slept with the devil. So, I mean, people say all sorts of odd things, particularly when they're divinely inspired. However, of course, this is heresy. We can't let the rector see this.
Yes, you should probably keep those engravings out of the rector's sight. But speaking of the rector, perhaps he would be the one to ask about this. We could go get him, or would the North Lakes perhaps not be happy that we were looking at their Bible?
I mean, we could perhaps and I guess she looks to see whether or not Elizabeth is paying attention to us.
She's been busily searching through the books, looking for things. She's found a bunch of things, which she's happy to share with you. No, she hasn't particularly paid attention to your conversation. She's a bit surprised that you've done apparently nothing about looking for books yourselves, which is what she thought you were agreeing to do. Just one minor point for your reference. I think we might have, and it's probably my fault. The person who wrote the note, no more. May God forgive me for my crimes. Did that have a name associated with it?
Yeah, Thomas Northlake, the first Northlake man.
Thomas Northlake in 1448.
Yeah, at the bottom of the the family tree.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All good.
Cool.
All right.
Cool.
Now, guys, unfortunately, I'm going to have to call it. Sorry, I do need to get up at 4:25 a.m. It's about as much fun as it sounds.
We do need to have a tea conversation, so that will be possibly next time.
Yes,
absolutely.
A lot of questions.
So thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you very much.
I will talk to you all anon.
Enjoy your early morning flight. Thanks, guys. See you next time.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night.